Hello, and welcome back. I'm really glad you're here with me today. Wherever you are right now, maybe sitting at your desk, maybe walking home, maybe listening quietly with earphones while the world moves around you, I want you to take a small breath with me. Nothing deep, nothing forced, just a gentle breath in and a slow breath out. Today, I want to talk about something very familiar, something small but heavy, something that many people carry silently every single day. Work emails. Those short lines on a screen that can suddenly change your mood. That little notification sound that makes your shoulders tense. That moment when you open your inbox and feel your heart beat just a little faster. Today, our journey is about when work emails stress you out and how English lives inside those moments. Not the English of textbooks, not the English of exams, but the English of daily office life. Real, human, sometimes uncomfortable, sometimes confusing, but very real. I want to walk with you through this experience, slowly, kindly, as if we are sitting together, talking quietly, sharing what we notice. Let me tell you about a morning I remember very clearly. It was not a dramatic morning, no rain, no loud noises. Just a normal weekday. I arrived at my desk early, before most people. The office was quiet, the lights were still soft. I made myself a cup of coffee and sat down. I remember feeling calm. Then I opened my email. The first message was from my manager. The subject line was short, very short. Just a few words. No greeting, no emoji, no explanation. Please see me. That was all. Please see me. I stared at the screen for a few seconds. My coffee was still warm in my hands. But suddenly, I didn't feel the warmth anymore. My mind started moving fast, too fast. What did I do wrong? Did I miss something? Is there a problem? Am I in trouble? Nothing bad had actually happened yet. But my body didn't know that. My shoulders tightened. My breath became shallow. My calm morning disappeared in less than 10 seconds. Maybe you've felt this too. Sometimes it's not the email itself, it's what we imagine behind it. Let's stay with that phrase for a moment. Please see me. Say it quietly in your mind. Please see me. It sounds polite, it sounds simple, but inside an office, inside a work context, it carries many possible meanings. And when English is not your first language, those meanings can feel even heavier. Now, repeat after me, slowly. Please see me. Good. Notice how your voice feels when you say it. Neutral, polite, but also open, unfinished. Work emails are often like that. Short, incomplete. They leave space, and our minds rush in to fill that space with fear. I remember walking to my manager's office that morning. Each step felt louder than usual. I was practicing sentences in my head. I'm sorry if I misunderstood. I'll fix it immediately. Thank you for telling me. I hadn't even heard the problem yet, but I was already apologizing. When I finally sat down, my manager smiled and said, I just wanted to check if you're free next week for a new project. That was it. No problem, no mistake, no danger. But my body had already lived through a whole story. This is something I want you to understand gently. Emails don't just communicate information. They communicate emotion even when the writer doesn't mean to. And when we read them in a second language, We often hear them louder than they are. Let me tell you about another email. This one arrived late in the afternoon, when my energy was low. The subject line said follow up. Just one word. Follow up. I opened it. Can you update me on this? That was the whole message. No hi. No hope you're doing well. No thanks. Just, can you update me on this? I felt a small wave of stress move through me. Not panic, just pressure. Is this urgent? Did I forget something? Are they unhappy with my progress? Now, let's pause together and look at this sentence. Can you update me on this? Repeat it with me. Can you update me on this? Good. On the surface, it's a very normal sentence. Very common office English. It's a request. It's polite. It uses can you not do this now. But emotionally, depending on the timing, the context, and your own state of mind, it can feel heavy. Here's something important I've learned, and I want to share it with you calmly. Emails often reflect efficiency, not emotion. Many people write quickly, between meetings, on their phone. While thinking about 10 other things, they don't add warmth. Not because they don't respect you, but because they are moving fast. But when you read that email, you are not moving fast. You are sitting with it, feeling it, interpreting it. And when English is not your first language, your brain works even harder. You translate, you analyze, you compare, you worry about tone. That's why work emails can be exhausting. Let me ask you something softly. When you read a stressful email, where do you feel it in your body? Maybe in your chest, maybe in your stomach, maybe in your neck or shoulders. Notice that. You don't need to change it. Just notice it. Now, let me share a small habit that helped me. Before replying to any email that makes me feel stressed, I pause. Not for a long time, just for one breath. And I ask myself one simple question. What is actually being asked of me? Not what I imagine, not what I fear, just what is written. Please see me. They want to talk. Can you update me on this? They want information. Nothing more. This question brings me back to language, to meaning, to clarity. Now, let's look at another very common office phrase. Just checking in. Repeat it with me. Just checking in. This phrase appears in many emails, sometimes friendly, sometimes stressful. Just checking in on the status of this, just checking in to see if you had a chance. The word just is interesting. It sounds small, soft, but it can also feel like pressure. When you receive just checking in, your mind might say, they're waiting, they're impatient, I'm late. But often it simply means I want an update. No anger, no judgment. Language in offices is often indirect. People avoid strong words. They soften requests. But that softness can confuse non-native speakers. So here's a gentle practice. When you read an email, try reading it twice. The first time, let your emotions react. That's human. The second time, read it as if you were a machine. Just words, just requests, just information. You might notice the stress becomes smaller. Let me tell you about a reply I once spent 20 minutes writing. The email I received said, "Please revise and resend. That's all? Please revise and resend. I opened a new message to reply, and my fingers froze. Should I apologize? Should I explain? Should I promise something? I typed, I deleted, I typed again. Finally, I sent this. Thank you for your feedback. I'll revise it and resend it shortly. That was enough. Clear, calm, professional. Sometimes we think English needs to be perfect, polite, warm, detailed. But in work emails, clarity is kindness. Repeat this sentence with me. Thank you for your feedback. I'll revise it and resend it shortly. Good. Notice how it feels. Simple, grounded, no emotion, but respectful. Now, let me speak to you not just as a teacher, but as a person who has felt small in front of an inbox. Sometimes the stress is not about English at all. It's about feeling watched, evaluated, measured. Emails become symbols. They represent expectations, deadlines, power. And if you already doubt yourself in English, those emails become louder. Maybe you think if I were better at English, this wouldn't be so hard. If I wrote more naturally, they would respect me more. I want to say this gently. Your value is not measured by how smooth your email sounds. Your intelligence is not defined by subject lines. You are already communicating. You are already functioning. You are already part of the conversation. English is a tool, not a test. When we practice office English, we are not trying to become someone else. We are trying to express ourselves with less fear. Now, I'd like you to imagine a scene. You open your inbox tomorrow morning. There are several unread emails. Your heart reacts automatically. But this time, you sit back, you breathe, you read slowly. You don't rush to understand everything perfectly. You say to yourself, I will take this one message at a time. Say it with me. I will take this one message at a time. Good. This is not just language practice. This is life practice. Because when we talk about our work, our days, our emails, we are practicing awareness. And when we practice awareness, our English becomes calmer too. Let me share one more small story. I once worked with someone who wrote very short emails, always direct, always brief, no greetings, no endings. At first, I felt uncomfortable. I thought they were cold, maybe angry. Later, I learned something important. They were not writing from emotion. They were writing from focus. Their emails were not messages about me. They were messages about tasks. When I understood that, my stress disappeared. So when you read a work email, try asking, is this about me or is this about the work? Often, it's just about the work. Let's practice one more phrase together. Let me know if you have any questions. Repeat it slowly. Let me know if you have any questions. This sentence appears everywhere, at the end of emails, in messages. It sounds open, but sometimes you might feel shy to ask questions, afraid to bother someone, afraid to sound weak. But asking questions is not weakness, it's clarity. Language grows when we use it, not when we hide from it. Now, as we come closer to the end of our journey today, I want you to reflect on something quietly. Think about the last email that stressed you out. Not to judge it, not to relive the fear, just to notice it. What words were there? What was actually asked? What story did your mind create? And then, gently, let that story soften. Emails come and go. Notifications disappear. But your relationship with language stays with you. You are not just learning English. You are learning how to stay calm inside communication. You are learning how to respond, not react. You are learning how to give your inner voice a softer tone. And that matters far beyond the office. I believe this deeply. When we learn to speak about our daily life, even stressful emails, we are learning how to live with more awareness. We are learning how to breathe inside responsibility. We are learning how to trust ourselves in small moments. So the next time an email makes your heart beat faster, remember this conversation. Remember that you are not alone. Remember that language is flexible, and so are you. Thank you for sharing this quiet space with me today. And before we truly leave this space together, I want to stay a little longer with you. Just a little. Because some feelings do not finish quickly. They soften slowly, like the light at the end of the day. I want to talk about the moment after you send an email. That quiet moment when the message is gone, but your thoughts are still there. Maybe you reread what you wrote, once, twice, many times. Did I sound polite enough? Did I sound clear? Did I make a mistake? Sometimes you open your sent folder and read your own words as if they were written by someone else. You look for problems. You look for danger. This is very human. And it happens more often when English is not your first language, because every sentence feels like a reflection of you. I remember finishing an email late one evening. The office was almost empty. The lights were dim. I pressed send, closed my laptop, and stood up to leave. But my body didn't leave. All the way home, my mind replayed that email. The phrases, the tone, the ending. I imagined how the other person would read it. I imagined their face, their reaction. And here is something gentle I learned over time. Most people do not read your email the way you read your email. They are busy, distracted, thinking about something else. They scan, they skim, they move on. They do not analyze your English. They do not count your mistakes. They do not hear your fear. They look for information. This thought helped me breathe again. So if you ever find yourself trapped in your sent folder, scrolling up and down, reading your own words with worry, try saying this quietly to yourself. I've done my part. Repeat it with me. I've done my part. That sentence is not only English practice, it is emotional permission. You wrote, you communicated, you showed up. That is enough. Now let's talk about replies, or rather waiting for replies. There is a special kind of stress that lives inside silence. You send an email, hours pass, maybe a day, maybe more. No response. And suddenly, your mind fills the quiet. Did they see it? Did I say something wrong? Are they ignoring me? Silence in emails feels personal, but often it isn't. People are in meetings, traveling, overloaded, tired. Silence does not mean rejection. It often means life. I once waited 3 days for a reply to an email I thought was very important. Those 3 days felt long, heavy. When the reply finally came, it said, Sorry for the delay. Looks good to me. That was all. 3 days of worry. One short sentence. This taught me something valuable. Do not measure your worth by response time. Say it softly with me. Do not measure your worth by response time. Good. English at work teaches us patience in ways we don't expect. Now, I want to share a small technique that many learners find helpful. When you receive a stressful email, try rewriting it in your own words. Not to send, just for yourself. For example, "Can you update me on this?" You rewrite it as, "They want to know the current status." Suddenly, it feels smaller, clearer, less emotional. This is not translation. This is interpretation. And it gives you power. Because when you understand meaning, fear loses its voice. Let me tell you about another moment. I once received an email that said, "This needs to be fixed." No explanation, no context. At first, my chest tightened. The word needs felt strong. But then I paused. I looked at the sentence again. This needs to be fixed. It did not say, "You failed. You are careless. You are bad at your job." It talked about a thing, not a person. That distinction matters. Work English often removes people from sentences. It sounds cold, but it also protects. This needs to be reviewed. This needs to be adjusted. This needs to be clarified. The focus is the task, not you. Understanding this can change how you feel. Now, I want to gently shift our focus from reading emails to writing them. Many learners tell me the same thing. I know what I want to say, but I don't know how to start. The beginning feels heavy. So let's simplify. Most work emails only need 3 things: a greeting, the purpose, the next step. Nothing more. "Hi, I'm writing to, please let me know." That structure is enough for most situations. You do not need perfect English. You need functional English. Clear English. Human English. Try saying this opening with me. I'm writing to follow up on. Say it slowly. I'm writing to follow up on. This sentence is very useful. It's polite, neutral, common. It does not sound angry. It does not sound weak. It simply explains why you are writing. And when you explain, you reduce misunderstanding. Sometimes stress comes from not knowing what tone to use. Should I be formal, friendly, short, detailed? Here's a quiet truth. Consistency is more important than perfection. If your emails are clear, polite, and honest, people adjust to your style. You do not need to sound like a native speaker. You need to sound like yourself, clearly. Now, I want to speak to the part of you that feels tired. The part of you that opens emails every day, works in a second language, and still tries. That effort is invisible to others, but it is real. And it deserves respect. Learning English through office life is not easy. You are learning language, culture, expectations, and emotions at the same time. That is a lot. So be gentle with yourself. When you make a mistake, let it pass. When you don't understand immediately, take your time. When an email feels heavy, breathe before you answer. You are not slow. You are thoughtful. You are not weak. You are careful. As we slowly come to the end of this long conversation, I want you to carry one feeling with you. Not confidence, not perfection, but steadiness. The feeling that you can meet your inbox calmly. The feeling that English is not something happening to you, but something you are using. And tomorrow, when another email arrives, and another, remember this quiet moment. Remember that behind every message is a human being, just trying to do their work. And you are one of them. Still learning, still growing, still speaking. Thank you for staying with me all the way to the end. Let's stay together a little longer. There is still something important here, something quiet that often goes unnoticed. I want to talk about the moment when an email changes the way you see your entire day. You wake up feeling normal, maybe even hopeful. You have plans, tasks, a rhythm in your mind. And then one email arrives. Not long, not loud, just enough to shift everything. Suddenly, the day feels heavier, time feels tighter, your thoughts feel crowded. What changed? Not reality, just language. This is the power of words, especially at work. And when English is not your first language, that power feels stronger, sharper, closer to your heart. I remember a day when I received an email first thing in the morning. It said, "We need to talk." That was it. No context, no time, no explanation. We need to talk. Say it quietly with me. We need to talk. Notice how your body reacts. For many people, this sentence feels serious, almost dangerous. I spent the entire morning distracted. I reread the email. I checked the time. I tried to focus, but my mind kept returning to those 4 words. When we finally talked, it was about something small, a scheduling issue, a misunderstanding. Nothing emotional, nothing personal. But the words had already done their work. This taught me something very important. Our stress often comes from uncertainty, not from problems. Emails create uncertainty, and uncertainty invites fear. So one gentle skill we can practice is this learning to sit with uncertainty without letting it take over. That is not easy, but it is learnable. When you read an email and feel that tight feeling in your chest, try saying, "I don't know yet." Repeat it softly. "I don't know yet." This sentence sounds simple, but it is powerful. It reminds you that the story is not complete, and incomplete stories do not deserve full fear. Let me share another small but real moment. I once received feedback by email that said, "This isn't quite right." That sentence stayed with me for days. This isn't quite right. It felt vague, unclear, unfinished. My mind filled the gap. Is it very wrong? Am I disappointing them? Do they regret choosing me? But later, when I asked for clarification, the answer was simple. One detail needs adjustment. That was all. So here is a gentle reminder. If an email feels unclear, it probably is unclear. And asking for clarification is not a weakness in English. It is strength. You can say, "Could you please clarify what you'd like me to adjust?" Repeat it slowly. Could you please clarify what you'd like me to adjust? This sentence is calm, professional, respectful. It does not apologize. It does not defend. It simply asks. And asking brings light into uncertainty. Now, I want to talk about something very human. Comparison. Sometimes you see how others write emails. Short, confident, natural. And you think, they sound so professional. They sound so fluent. I will never sound like that. But you don't see their journey. You don't see the years they spent learning, the mistakes they made, the fear they felt. You only see the result. Please remember this. You are not behind. You are exactly where you are supposed to be in your learning. And every email you read, every message you write is part of that path. English does not grow only in quiet study. It grows inside real moments. Inside confusion, inside responsibility, inside daily work. Now, let's slow down again. Imagine you are about to open your inbox. Before you click, you place your hand on the table. You feel its surface. Solid. Real. You remind yourself. These are just words. Say it with me. These are just words. They matter, yes, but they are not your identity. They are tools. And tools can be learned. I want to leave you with one last image. Imagine your inbox as a river. Emails flow in, emails flow out. Some days, the river is calm. Some days, it moves fast. But you are not the river. You are the one standing beside it, watching, choosing when to step in, choosing how deep to go. You do not need to jump into every current with fear. You can pause, you can breathe, you can respond when ready. This is not just about English. This is about how you live with language. Gently, consciously, with trust in yourself. And as you continue your days at work, opening emails, writing replies, learning new phrases, remember this quiet truth. You are not just surviving in English. You are growing through it. And that growth is happening, even on the days when you feel stressed, tired, or unsure. Especially on those days, thank you for staying with me, for listening deeply, and for giving yourself this time. Let's remain here a little while longer. Because sometimes the most important part of learning doesn't happen at the beginning or the end. It happens when we stay, when we don't rush to close the laptop, when we don't hurry to the next task. I want to talk about the hidden exhaustion behind work emails. Not physical tiredness, a different kind. The tiredness of always being on. The tiredness of choosing words carefully. The tiredness of thinking in one language and writing in another. You may not notice it clearly, but it accumulates. You answer emails all day. You switch tone. You adjust. You soften. You clarify. You explain. And by the time you go home, you feel strangely empty. I've felt this many times. I remember sitting on a bus after work, staring out of the window, unable to speak, not because I didn't want to, but because my words felt used up. If you've ever felt this way, I want you to know something important. That silence is not weakness. It is a sign that you have been giving. Language takes energy, especially when it matters. And work emails matter because they sit at the intersection of responsibility and identity. You are not just writing messages. You are representing yourself. That is heavy. So when you feel tired, it doesn't mean your English is bad. It means you are trying. Now, let me share a quiet shift that helped me a lot. I stopped trying to sound perfect, and I started trying to sound clear. Perfect English is exhausting. Clear English is sustainable. Clear English says what needs to be said and then rests. For example, instead of writing 3 sentences to explain one delay, I learned to write one honest line. This took longer than expected. Thank you for your patience. Repeat it with me. This took longer than expected. Thank you for your patience. Simple, calm, human. You don't need to defend yourself in every email. Sometimes clarity is enough. I want to talk about apologies for a moment. Many learners apologize too much in emails. Sorry for bothering you. Sorry for asking again. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for my English. Apologies can be polite, but they can also make you feel small. So here is a gentle alternative. Instead of sorry for the delay, you can say, thank you for your patience. Say it slowly. Thank you for your patience. Feel the difference. One looks backward with guilt. The other looks forward with respect. Language shapes emotion. And when you choose calmer language, you give yourself calmer space. Now, let's talk about the email that arrives at the end of the day. The one you see just before you leave. The one you read on your phone while walking. The one that stays with you through dinner. These emails are dangerous, not because they are urgent, but because they follow you home. I want to give you permission to do something. You don't have to reply immediately. Read that again in your mind. You don't have to reply immediately. Urgency is often imagined. If something is truly urgent, it will be made clear. Learning when to pause is part of learning professional English. Silence can be a strategy. Rest can be a response. Now, I want you to imagine writing an email tomorrow. You open a new message. The white space feels wide. Before typing, you ask yourself one quiet question. What is the purpose of this email? That's all. Not how do I sound, not will they judge me. Just, what is the purpose? When you know the purpose, the words follow more easily. And if they don't, that's okay too. You can keep it simple. Very simple. English does not need decoration to be effective. It needs direction. As we continue this gentle walk together, I want to say something directly to you. You are allowed to learn slowly. In a world of fast replies, instant messages, and constant notifications, learning slowly is an act of care. Every time you choose a word thoughtfully, you are building something inside yourself. Confidence does not arrive suddenly. It grows quietly, one email at a time. One reply, one clarification, one calm response to stress. And one day, you will notice something small but meaningful. An email arrives. Your heart does not race. Your shoulders stay relaxed. You read, you understand, you respond, and you move on. That is progress. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Before we part, I want to leave you with one final thought to carry into your workdays. When an email stresses you out, it is not a failure. It is an invitation. An invitation to slow down. An invitation to choose clarity. An invitation to practice English in a real moment. And every invitation you accept, even imperfectly, makes you stronger. You are not just learning English to work. You are learning English to live with less fear inside communication. And that is a beautiful lifelong skill. Thank you for staying with me, for listening patiently, and for allowing this quiet conversation to unfold. And even now, as we continue, I want you to notice something. You're still here. That matters. Because most people rush away from discomfort, from stress, from reflection. But you stayed. And staying is where learning quietly deepens. I want to talk about the invisible voice that appears when you read work emails. Not the words on the screen, but the voice inside you that reacts to them. Sometimes that voice sounds like doubt. Am I good enough for this role? Why is this so hard for me? Everyone else seems to understand so easily. That voice is not English. That voice is fear wearing English clothes. And it's important to recognize the difference. Because when you think you are struggling with language, you might actually be struggling with pressure. Pressure to perform, pressure to be professional, pressure to not make mistakes. I want you to hear this clearly. Struggling does not mean failing. Struggling means you care. I've met many people who write emails confidently and quickly, without emotion, and often they are not better communicators, they are just less afraid. Fear slows language. Safety releases it. So one of the most important things you can do for your English at work is not memorizing phrases. It is creating a feeling of safety inside yourself. And that starts with how you talk to yourself. The next time you open a stressful email, try saying this quietly. I am allowed to take my time. Repeat it with me. I am allowed to take my time. Good. Because speed is not the same as skill. Fast English is not always good English. Clear English, thoughtful English, that is what builds trust. Now let me share something personal. There was a period in my life when I dreaded opening my inbox, not because of one bad email, but because of the accumulation of many small pressures. Each message felt like a demand. Each subject line felt like a judgment. Eventually, I realized something important. I was not reacting to emails. I was reacting to how I felt about myself at work. Emails became mirrors. When I felt confident, emails felt manageable. When I felt unsure, emails felt threatening. This is why learning English through daily life is so powerful. Because language reflects how we see ourselves. So if emails stress you out, it does not mean your English is weak. It may mean you need kindness, not correction. Let's talk about tone for a moment. Tone is one of the hardest things to read in a second language. A short email can feel cold. A direct sentence can feel rude. A neutral phrase can feel disappointed. But tone lives between words, not inside them. And we often imagine tone based on our mood, not the writer's intention. So here is a small practice. When you read an email and feel stress rising, try reading it again, but imagine the writer smiling gently. Not sarcastically, not impatiently. just neutral, human. You may be surprised how much the meaning softens. This doesn't mean ignoring real problems. It means not creating extra ones. Now, I want to talk about the emails you never send. The drafts that stay open, the messages you rewrite again and again, the thoughts you keep inside because you're not sure how to express them. These unsent emails carry weight. They take space in your mind. Sometimes, the most stressful part of English is not what you say, it's what you don't say. And I want to remind you, you are allowed to be simple. You don't need perfect expressions to communicate real needs. You can say, "I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain? I need more time to finish this. I have a question about this part." These sentences are not advanced, but they are powerful. They protect your energy. They prevent misunderstandings. They give you room to breathe. Say one of them with me now. "I'm not sure I understand. Could you explain?" Good. That sentence is a bridge, not a barrier. Now, let's slow the pace again. Imagine it's the end of the workday. You close your email. The screen goes dark. Your shoulders drop. At that moment, I want you to mentally place all the emails of the day outside of yourself. They do not follow you into the evening. They do not sit beside you at dinner. They do not define who you are. You did your work. You communicated. You learned something even if you don't know what it is yet. Learning often happens quietly, without announcements. And one day, you'll notice that emails don't feel as loud as they used to. Not because they changed, but because you did. Your English became steadier. Your reactions became softer. Your trust in yourself became stronger. That is growth, and it's already happening. You don't need to force it. You just need to continue. Continuing gently, continuing honestly, continuing with patience. Thank you for staying in this long, quiet conversation with me. Thank you for allowing English to be more than a subject, to be a companion in your daily life. And now, it feels right to rest. Not because everything is finished, but because you've gone far enough for today. You've listened. You've reflected. You've stayed present with language in a way that is calm and honest. That alone is meaningful. As you return to your day or your evening, carry this with you lightly. Emails will keep coming. Messages will appear. Work will continue. But you don't need to carry all of it inside your chest. You can read. You can pause. You can respond in your own time, in your own voice. English does not demand perfection from you. It invites presence. And every time you choose clarity over fear, you are answering that invitation. So tonight or tomorrow morning, when you open your inbox again, remember this quiet space we shared. Remember that you are capable. You are learning. You are allowed to be human in your English. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your attention. This is English with Thomas. I'm Thomas. Keep speaking, keep growing, and keep trusting yourself.